So Noah, thank you very much for having us. It's great to be here, and we're going to have a conversation about Gropyus. So I'm from FAM. We are a private investment company. We're owned by the Wallenberg Family Foundations, and we were introduced to Gropyus in 2020. And we're very excited about the team, the experience of the team, the technology, and also, of course, this huge market opportunity to disrupt the construction and property industry. And we, as an investor, we have a strong focus on sustainability, and we push it in all our companies right now, both our new investments when we look for investment and our current holdings. And I think that really, Gropyus, you fit that picture very, very well. We also have a strong interest in the forest industry and the use of wood. And I think the use of wood is very important to make the world and Europe more sustainable. And we see strong demand and strong regulations also coming in that way.
I mean,
Markus, maybe you want to say...
You're very humble, right? Because you have seen a lot of industrial investments, right? You're in ABB, you're basically in Stora Enso, which is one of the biggest timber manufacturing companies in Europe. So we were very happy to talk to somebody that really understands industrial and really basically knows AstraZeneca. I think you're a big shareholder. So it was very good for us to meet somebody that really understands industrial and the problems of digital. Because what we are doing with Gropyus, for people that don't know it, and that's probably most of you, we really built the whole value chain of construction, from planning, production, robotics for production, logistics, assembly, and operating those buildings with a building operating system, all on our own IP and all ourselves. So basically we have a factory, we have a robotic factory where we do the tools of the robots, so like the machines that build the machines. But that's a little bit what we're doing, and it all runs on our own custom software. So we have 150 people that sit in our software and tech team, and we built the whole value chain basically on one digital model. And it's not so easy to find the industry expertise in Europe, especially also with investors that go into hardware-related businesses, more CapEx-related businesses. And this was why I think we were very lucky to meet each other there. And
And the construction industry is one, of course, the few industries which still basically looks the same as it did 100 years ago. And the way you build and the materials you use. But I think there's a huge opportunity to change that. And of course, you want to build more efficiently, which creates the affordability angle. You also build with robots, which allows, of course, less waste at the construction site, which is a huge problem. I think there's 10 to 20% waste in a regular construction site. So tell me about the opportunities you see, but also the challenges that you see going to market, and especially now, of course, the market is quite tough with construction.
The market is a nightmare sometimes. So I think the advantage we have a little bit in a market like this is that what we do is very transparent and very digital in a way. So it's much easier for us to offer on time, on budget, and really transparency how much a building costs, how fast it's done. So the first building we did was a 9-story building. And if you take out the slim core in the middle, which in the future we do also parallel now, it took 4 months to finish that building. So it was like 4 months from starting it basically to people that would to get them to move in. And everything we do it is the other advantage, like you said, sustainability. It's all Article 9. So this is an EU taxonomy Article 9 building. It has solar panels on the outside, so it's a plus energy building too. And the new buildings that we do right now, we manufacture them for less than 2,100 euro on the square meter. And that already includes 19% tax in Germany. So this is of course an advantage. Is it the cheapest thing out there yet? It's not the cheapest thing out there yet. Concrete is probably still 4, 5, 6% cheaper. But it's concrete, right? It takes very long to finish it, so you have higher financing costs. You have a lot of troubles usually with defect management, right? I mean, there are great companies for dealing with defect management, but that's one of those things. Plus, of course, usually it's a prognosis, the price that you get from a construction company. It will usually never reach those 5, 6% cheaper than the currently would be than us. So I think that's a big advantage, and it only gets better from there. Because if you run an industry that so far, like you said, was very project-oriented, a general construction company, a general contractor, is a project manager. In every other industry, this doesn't exist like that. In every other industry, the product provider builds the product. It makes iterations on the product. It makes the product better. It goes through evolutionary cycles. In the construction industry, you build one prototype after the other. It's like you build 20,000 versions of an iPhone. It just doesn't make sense, right? And so it's one of the biggest industries in the world that has not been productized yet. And this is basically the interesting opportunity for us. Because if you see a multifamily home, you could also see a single-family home, you could see a kindergarten. The approach of using a digital model and then producing something out of this digital model, this I think is very powerful. And we're not getting distracted, but you can do all of those kind of products later on because it's a product suddenly. And I think that's the interesting part.
Could you talk about also, we see there's a lot of new regulation being introduced in Europe and also elsewhere. Obviously, governments, consumers want more sustainable products. And in Germany, there are also some new building codes being introduced. Could you tell us about how your products and your offering will be able to meet up to those demands? Yeah. And who else can meet those demands?
Yeah, I think the thing about regulation is always very scary, right? So a lot of people that looked at us to invest always thought, our regulation, it's everywhere different. And in Germany, there's a different fire code in almost every state. So it basically burns different in every state of Germany. There are other rules that are very weird, but the good thing about it is if you run a digital product, you can change a lot of the product parameters in the digital model. So basically to say in this state, it automatically uses a handrail, where you hold yourself, that is higher or lower. It's just a parameter in the digital model. To change the wall structure, to add one gypsum board, for example, to make it more fireproof, is just a digital parameter. And we are able to take those parameters and then manufacture them because we control the robots. We really run the software of our robots. And suddenly you have a value chain that you fully control, that you can also probably manufacture something with for other people. And we later also have somebody here that does also great things basically in the space where we could maybe even sometimes be a partner and take this part end to end of the value chain. And if you think about it now, this basically means you can do a lot of changes digitally only because you know that production, logistic, and everything follows because the value chain is fully digitally connected. And that's a big difference. And when you then say, like the new regulation that comes now in Germany, of course, for timber buildings, because timber buildings have been built for thousands of years, but regulation is still very old. Because the technology improved a lot. If you look at the timber products nowadays, they are so much different than the timber products 20 years ago. How they glue them, how they use them, they're so stable, they can build 100-meter buildings with timber. And now the government catches up with that, and this, of course, helps us a lot. So we now have a system that automatically can build higher than before because the rules will change next year in Germany. So all those regulatory, systematic, serial, modular construction approach of the government and other governments is, of course, very helpful to what we're doing. And because it's digital, we say, this is a change now. Let's change in the digital file, but we know everything else works. So this is a big advantage. It takes more money to do it once, but when the stuff is running, you're just very flexible and very scalable and comparatively cheap. That's the good thing.
So if I'm a property developer, tell me, how long does it take from coming to you until the house is built compared to a sort of traditional building cycle?
Cutting out the government. So basically, when you just look at planning, and when you take out the government permission process, it can take months. And in our approach, it's a little faster because they're comparatively simpler, because they're affordable, and they're not architectural marvels with 50 shapes and stuff like that. So basically, you have planning, and then production, and then assembly. You could build the first building we built, the 9-story building that you know. It's a 9-story building. You could build this building realistically already now in 3 months. I do think in 2 to 3 years we can build that building after the base plate is done, which is also doesn't take that long, probably in 6 to 8 weeks. And there is no physical reason that shouldn't work. There's just no physical reason. Because if you plan and structure it from the beginning over the whole value chain, like the whole product cycle, you think already about assembly, logistics, how stuff gets connected, how it fits together. It's not rocket science in this case.
No. And one final question from me: if you look at the what I found interesting is that you have people from the automotive industry with you, and the automotive industry, of course, is very pushed to deliver on time, on cost, and have no waste. So could you tell me, when you produce stuff at your factory, what is the waste, and how quickly do you put up the building? How many days per
waste is an
floor?
advantage, right? Because we build to order. Everything we build, we basically build to order. And again, the value chain is connected. So when we have something that is waste, we send it back to our supplier. And because we buy directly from the supplier, we work together on products and recyclability. So that's one thing. And last thing about production speed. So in the new factory that goes online next year, with our own robots, 55 robots, our robotic tools, our software. Very small investment comparatively of a couple of tens of million, which is, if people that know, 40, 30, 40 million is not a lot for a factory. We can produce 3,500 to 4,000 apartments fully finished per year. And we can do a wall in 17 minutes. And we can do a ceiling or a floor of a whole building, of a whole apartment in 16 minutes. With an automation degree of up to 86%. So with a little bit more than 150 people, we can basically produce around 300,000 square meters of apartments per year. So that's a little bit of that speed. No, I wasn't allowed to grill you, but
no. I
next
think
time
our
I
time
will.
is up, but
thank you very much.
Maybe she doesn't say anything, maybe we ask more questions.